Elizabeth may look like your typical middle-aged teacher at a junior high school, but she's far from ordinary. She's infamous for her ill-tempered attitude and neglectful behavior towards her students, often using foul language and letting them watch movies during class. What's more, her vices, alcohol and narcotics, seem to fuel her unpredictable behavior. But Elizabeth has bigger aspirations in life. She wants to marry a wealthy man and live the high life at his expense. And when she starts dating the son of a wealthy businessman, she's convinced that her dreams are about to come true. She quits her teaching job with a sense of entitlement, but things take a sudden turn when she discovers her boyfriend and his mother waiting for her at home. They've uncovered her dirty secret. Elizabeth has been stealing from them to fund her extravagant lifestyle. Her boyfriend calls off their engagement, leaving Elizabeth to face the harsh reality of her actions. Unable to find another job due to her lack of talent, she must swallow her pride and return to her old teaching job at the junior high school. Elizabeth's first day back at school was anything but smooth sailing. She had the unfortunate luck of bumping into her nemesis, Amy Squirrel, and the two of them had a heated exchange of insults that left no doubt that they absolutely loathed each other. Despite this rocky start, Elizabeth's students were thrilled to see her return, but she wasn't exactly in the teaching spirit. Instead, she whipped out her breakfast and chowed down while ignoring her students' pleas for a lesson. Eventually, she put on a movie called Stand and Deliver, but she ended up dozing off. During lunch, Elizabeth confided in her one and only friend at school, Lynn, revealing her plans to undergo breast augmentation surgery in the hopes of attracting wealthy suitors. Meanwhile, the gym teacher, Russell, was head over heels for Elizabeth, but she didn't give him the time of day since the only quality she cared about in a partner was their financial status. One day, a stunning man named Scott joins Elizabeth's school as a temporary teacher. As soon as she discovers his wealth, Elizabeth's curiosity towards him peaks. After some sneaky detective work, Elizabeth finds out that Scott is single and has recently ended things with his girlfriend. When he shows her a picture of his ex-girlfriend, Elizabeth is struck by envy towards her generous bosom and assumes that Scott only desires women with large breasts. Motivated by her insecurity, Elizabeth decides to undergo a breast augmentation surgery. Elizabeth rushes to the clinic to fill out the necessary forms for her procedure. But when the cost of the surgery is revealed to be a whopping $9,000, Elizabeth is taken aback. With only $50 in her account, she realizes she must wait until she can afford the surgery. Determined to make it happen sooner, Elizabeth turns to her friends and acquaintances for donations. Unfortunately, her reputation precedes her, and everyone hangs up on her in response. In a last-ditch effort, Elizabeth calls her ex-boyfriend and demands that he pay her $9,000 as compensation for their breakup. But even he sees through her scheme and leaves Elizabeth feeling frustrated and alone. The next day in class, Elizabeth was as bored as a sloth on a Sunday. Suddenly, one of her students saunters up to her and pitches the idea of washing cars for fun and profit. Elizabeth barely pays attention until the classmate reveals they made a whopping $6,000 last year. Elizabeth's eyes light up like fireworks on the 4th of July. But then she learns that the nemesis Amy is in charge of the car wash event. Gasp! Elizabeth won't let Amy rain on her parade, so she hatches a plan. With a wink and a smile, Elizabeth swans into the principal's office and turns up the heat. She sweet-talks him into making her the boss of the car wash instead of Amy. Success! The next day, Elizabeth rolls up to the car wash wearing an outfit so revealing, it could make a nun blush. She starts washing cars, but not without making a splash, literally. Water flies everywhere, soaking her body and leaving the boys drooling like puppies over a steak. The women stood there in disbelief, while the men couldn't help but grin from ear to ear at the sight of Elizabeth. A police officer was so captivated by her beauty that he lost control of his vehicle and caused a collision. As luck would have it, Elizabeth saw an opportunity to plead for extra funds for her school, claiming it was in dire need. Shockingly, her plan succeeded and she raised a whopping $10,000 by the end of the day. Elizabeth generously donated half of the money to the school, but kept the other half a secret. However, her actions did not go unnoticed as Amy caught wind of what had happened and stormed off to report it to the principal. Unfortunately, the principal was not receptive to the news and dismissed the accusation since there was no solid evidence. The next day, Elizabeth's classroom was swarmed with angry parents, who were unhappy with the quality of education their children were receiving. Elizabeth finds herself in hot water when some irate parents confront her during a meeting, accusing her of screening movies instead of teaching their kids. Unfazed, she snaps back at them with a no-nonsense attitude, "Don't tell me how to do my job." But things take an unexpected turn when a concerned father slips her $200 under the table, asking for special attention for his child. Seeing an opportunity, Elizabeth hatches a sneaky plan and starts extracting money from all the parents in exchange for personal attention to their kids. As her cunning scheme gets her closer to her goal of saving up $2,000 for breast enhancement surgery, Elizabeth becomes more negligent towards her students. Despite rejecting the advances of the gym instructor, she befriends him, while Amy's romantic pursuits with the wealthy Scott drive Elizabeth to envy. When Elizabeth's friend Lynn reveals that the school is holding a teacher's competition, Elizabeth is overjoyed to hear that the teacher who helps their students score the highest grades in the upcoming state test will be awarded $5,000. She finally decides to start teaching her students seriously, and from the very next day, she arrives early in the class, asks everyone to open their books, assigns homework and daily tasks, and forbids them from talking to each other. After a few days of strict teaching, the students improve significantly, but Elizabeth is still concerned that they might not pass the upcoming state test. She becomes desperate to win the prize money and decides to take matters into her own hands. That night, she dresses provocatively and seduces a state professor named Carl, who is responsible for preparing and distributing test questions. After spiking his drink with sleeping pills, Elizabeth steals the test questions and gives them to her students. The next week, the test results are out, and all her students pass with flying colors, making her the winner of the $5,000 prize. Elizabeth's heart soared when she finally won the $5,000 prize she desperately needed for surgery. But her spirits plummeted when she discovered that her arch-nemesis, Amy, had stolen Scott's heart. Elizabeth refused to let her dreams be crushed, and her cunning mind sprang into action when she discovered that Scott and Amy were in charge of the school tour. With her eyes locked on her target, Elizabeth injected an apple with a special chemical and left it on Amy's desk, watching with satisfaction as her enemy took a bite. Soon, Amy's face erupted in rashes and allergies, and Elizabeth was chosen to replace her on the school tour. Determined to seize the opportunity, Elizabeth made a move on Scott and enjoyed a sizzling night of passion with him in secret. Later at night, as Elizabeth and Scott's passion reached a fever pitch during their secret meeting, Amy was on a mission to ruin Elizabeth's reputation at all costs. Amy broke into Elizabeth's desk to find evidence of wrongdoing, but her attempts were thwarted by locked drawers. However, Amy's determination knew no bounds. She switched desks with Elizabeth, called in a janitor, and opened the drawers by force. And that's when she found the smoking gun, the question papers Elizabeth had stolen from Carl. Amy wasted no time in exposing Elizabeth's misdeeds to the principal. But there was a catch: Elizabeth could only be fired if Carl confessed. So, Amy decided to take matters into her own hands and blackmailed Carl into admitting to the theft. All the while, Elizabeth was blissfully unaware of the scheme unfolding around her as she enjoyed a school tour. Elizabeth goes to extraordinary lengths to come to the aid of a bullied boy, even going as far as equipping him with her own undergarments to boost his popularity. Witnessing this remarkable act of kindness, Russell is completely awestruck and showers Elizabeth with praise for her incredible generosity. In turn, she can't help but admire his honesty and undeniable good looks, sparking a captivating and romantic conversation between them. But just as their connection deepens, their intimate moment is harshly interrupted by the sudden arrival of Amy. With a cruel smirk on her face, Amy taunts Elizabeth with the devastating news that her impending arrest is imminent. Shocked by this revelation, Elizabeth's mind races as she swiftly realizes that the stolen test papers she had been involved with must have been discovered. She swiftly devises a cunning plan of her own, beginning with compensating her roommate and issuing a crucial directive to deliver a carefully prepared package to Earl. Inside this intriguing package lie a collection of nude photographs, surreptitiously captured by Elizabeth when Earl was unconscious. Now, with Earl holding this incriminating evidence, Elizabeth approaches him with an audacious proposition: a false confession in exchange for the secrecy of his compromising photos. Caught in the crossfire of two formidable women blackmailing him with their own demands, Earl finds himself trapped in an exceedingly difficult and precarious situation. After wrestling with his conscience, Scott takes Elizabeth's side and denies ever having met her. Elizabeth then decides to take action and announces that there has been drug use in the classroom. She had discovered that Amy had switched desks while she was absent, and that the top drawer contained illegal substances. Elizabeth's claims prompt the school to be swarmed by cops who search through all the desks. Amy's turn comes, and the narcotics are discovered, leading to her immediate arrest and putting an end to the animosity between the two women. In the climactic final scene, Scott approaches Elizabeth and confesses his feelings for her, asking her out on a date. But Elizabeth surprises him by rejecting his advances and revealing that she is already with someone who is intelligent, compassionate, and good-looking. She then turns to Russell and shares a passionate kiss, signaling the start of their relationship. Elizabeth decides to call off her breast enlargement surgery, realizing that she no longer desires to attract wealthy men. The movie ends with Elizabeth committing to becoming a committed teacher who assists her students in achieving academic excellence.